You know how there are some things in this world where you have to ask yourself, man, this is really good, and there are some great ideas here. Why does nobody know about it? Portal is not one of those times.
This next test is impossible. Now you're thinking with portals.
Portal started its life with humble beginnings as a college project made by Kim Swift and some of her colleagues at Digipen called Narbacular Drop. When showing off their game at their school's annual gaming expo, it got the attention of one Robin Walker from the game company Valve. He tried it and gave the team his opinions and business card. After the end of the event, they sent an email to him looking for more feedback, and as luck would have it, Walker invited them to present their game at Valve's office, where the head of the company, Gabe Newell, surprised the whole team by hiring them on the spot to reimagine their game into what would become known as Portal, and that was released 10 years ago. Portal is such an out-of-the-box idea, and so not like the first-person game that were coming out at the time, that I could easily see this as one of those cult classic games that didn't do so well at its release. And that might have happened if it wasn't for the fact that Valve is hugely influential in the gaming industry. Not only did they package Portal in the Orange Box bundle with some of their other games that are now household names in the gaming industry, but they also developed the online gaming marketplace Steam. And guess what was one of the first games to be posted there? Since then, Portal has sparked a popularity that has led to merchandise, memorable lines, and a movie directed by J.J. Abrams that might or might not be in development anymore. All from a small packet that utilizes a great physics engine and takes the idea of using portals to solve puzzles to its peak, only to be topped by a stellar sequel raising the bar in practically every way. But does the first one still hold up? Does it effectively teach the concepts of how to think with portals? Let's find out. You play as Shell, a test subject who wakes up in a glass prison inside of the testing facility, Aperture Science. After given some time to get acquainted to the controls, a disembodied voice can be heard.
Hello, and again, welcome to the Aperture Science Computer-Aided Enrichment Center. We hope your brief detention in the relaxation vault has been a pleasant one. Your specimen has been processed, and we are now ready to begin the test proper.
This is Gladys, the artificial intelligence supervising the testing for the portal gun. It's your job to get through all 19 testing chambers with the promise of cake. Now, let me ask, were any of you watching that trailer and thinking to themselves, "Oh, no, 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 oh, no, 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 oh, no, no, no." Well, in that case, don't feel discouraged. With the sporadic changes of perspective needed to make this game what it is, Valve knew that it would be hard to approach for new players. So the first few test chambers are acclimated to teach players slowly. Hell, for a few chambers, you don't even get the gun. And when you do, it takes until halfway through the chambers to shoot both portals yourself. With it all starting from an incredibly memorable step, literally showing you what the game is all about.
The portal will open in 3, 2, 1.
That's you. At its core, the game is about two separate areas being connected by two simply placed portals. I can bet that anyone can play the first 3 minutes of this game and end up both amazed and confused at the same time. This is the first step to learn how to think with portals. Now, what do I mean by this? Besides being a really catchy tagline, thinking with portals is the philosophy of how to get through the game. In these puzzles, you have all the necessary tools to get to the end of the chamber, with the way to solve them being literally in your hand. So you have to ask yourself, how can I use the portal gun to make it to the end of the game? And once you figure that out, you're going to feel like the smartest guy on the planet. And then you get to the turrets. It's also extremely beneficial that this game has a really good physics engine. Fall into a portal from high up and you'll be launched high and far into the air to get where you need to go. This is just as satisfying as it looks. If the starting point for understanding the game is looking at yourself through a portal, then pulling off a chain of portal jumps that'll make a basketball player jealous is the end point. Although, when you actually get to that end point, that last chamber, that promise of a delicious Black Forest cake, it's revealed that there's no dessert. On the contrary, the closest you get to a cake is the intent of you becoming a candle. A melted one. You make your escape through the underbelly of the facility and come to realize that no living person has been there for a long time. The driving force for the operation now is Gladys, who has no compassion for human life whatsoever and openly admits to killing everyone there.
Did you just set that Aperture Science thing, we don't know what it does, into an Aperture Science Emergency Intelligence Incinerator? That has got to be the dumbest thing that... Whoa. Good news. I figured out what that thing you just incinerated did. It was a morality core they installed after I flooded the enrichment center with a deadly neurotoxin to make me stop flooding the enrichment center with a deadly neurotoxin. So get comfortable while I warm up the neurotoxin emitters.
So when you get to her, you have to shut her down. I know I'm spoiling the game here, but two things. One, it is so much less confusing and more interesting to explain everything when all cards are on the table. Two, the game is really short, so no matter what, you'll get to that twist like that. And three, this game is so much fun to play that it really doesn't matter. And let's be honest, when has a disembodied voice as a main character not been evil? It's ironic too. While you don't trust her, GLaDOS is your only connection to anything in the whole game. Or, well, you do get this thing called a companion cube with a heart on it, but guess who ruins that relationship?
You euthanized your faithful companion cube more quickly than any test subject on record. Congratulations.
GLaDOS will constantly talk to the player, and while you don't trust her, she is funny. Almost all of her dialogue is coded in a hint of sarcasm and dry humor. I mean, who better than a robot, right?
Unbelievable. You.
Subject name here.
Must be the pride of.
Subject hometown here.
Under all of the metal and heavy voice filtering is Ellen McLean, who is able to make GLaDOS sound calm and collected, while at the same time just sketchy enough to make you question whether or not you can trust her at all. It's a voice that's instantly recognizable when you hear it. Before I even knew who worked on Pacific Rim, my main motivation to go see it was exclusively because I heard that voice.
Ready to activate the Jaeger in 3, 2, 1.
It is so memorable that McLean could probably develop a career from reprising her role in parodies alone. Hell, she might have already.
At last, with access to NASA's science and data archives, nothing can stop me from remaking this pathetic world into my own efficient image. Why can't I access the network?
We haven't hooked you up to it yet.
This one too?
Our third AI, our third evil AI.
Maybe we need to look into other suppliers.
Wait, I was just disoriented. I love the world. And if I may be so bold, I love you.
I feel that Portal's greatest strength is its atmosphere. Unlike other first-person games that have you holding a gun that are grittier at the offset with fast-paced action without a lot of jokes. Actually, ironically, this is exactly like what Narbacular Drop was like. There must have been a conscious effort to make this game look nothing like the competition. Portal starts you off with bright white walls and a sarcastic robot companion. But stray from the path too much and you instantly feel a level of dread that will never really go away.
Is anyone there?
It's made even more complicated when the only person who you have contact with is someone who you can't entirely trust. Before the rug is pulled under you, GLaDOS ensures the player that she isn't lying to you and that there will be cake at the end.
As part of a required test protocol, we will stop enhancing the truth in 3, 2.
But honestly, it's hard to tell. On one hand, she's a robot. She's programmed to not lie to you. Right? But you find these little rat nests left behind by an old scientist who might or might not be alive, and you suddenly don't know what to believe anymore. For how small this game is, there was clearly a lot of effort put into it. But there are still some problems. First and foremost, I think there's a question of just how disorienting this game can get. And while the developers clearly tried to make it less of an issue, there are still some obvious inconveniences. When launching out of Portal, I found myself quite often turned in a direction that I didn't want to be in, and my back to the goal. And once I realized this while I was up in the air, I'm back down through the portal that I just launched myself through, completely missing my opportunity. There are also those times when the game would pause to load a new area. Yeah, I know it takes a lot of power for a game to run completely seamlessly, and that's why there are loading screens, but these pauses happen in elevators between stages. And I know that to an extent this is okay because there isn't any action going on, because let's face it, I'm in an elevator. This isn't a Marvel movie. But therein lies the problem. I know that the elevators are here to transition between chambers more seamlessly because the elevators aren't too graphically intensive. So in theory, it should just load in the background without the player noticing. But every now and again, what happens? This is mainly a nitpick, but do you know what the worst part about this problem is? It's an elevator. How the hell am I supposed to edit this video in an interesting way when I'm standing in a mother-fathering tube? I hate elevators. Does anyone really like them? They're claustrophobic, you can't really move in them, touching the buttons gives you germs, and if that thing shuts down, then you're stuck there for the devil to come and pick you off one by one when you run out of food and oxygen. Escalators are where they're at. You don't have to touch anyone or anything to get where you need to go, and if they break down, guess what? They just turn into stairs. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, we need to talk about that length. If you don't know what you're doing, expect to beat this game in about 2 to 3 hours, maybe less than 1 if you do. Even for just $10, this is still worth questioning. Although, there isn't just the campaign. You have harder versions of test chambers that range from fun and challenging to some stages with extra requirements to get gold medals, like a limit on how many portals you can shoot, the number of steps you take, or simply getting to the end really fast. And there's also a mode to play through the game again with developer commentary sprinkled throughout the rooms, which was honestly enough to get me to go for a second round. All combined, this will give you an experience that overall would be about 9 hours. It's not even worth $1 an hour. It's easy to say that Portal was worth it when it was part of the Orange Box, because at $20 for 3 games, which the other 2 you can play for much longer, was a great deal no matter how you shake it. If you hated Portal, hey, then you still have either one of the greatest story-driven shooters of all time or one of the greatest team-based shooters. But really, making a full game was clearly not the intention. It was made as a prototype to see if gamers would respond well or not to this type of gameplay. I mean, it was made during the heyday of Call of Duty. To put a full first-person game in a gun where you don't directly kill anyone would have been a major risk. Portal 1 is meant as a way to ease gamers into this unique gameplay, and all things considered, it paid off in droves. Though through all of its shortcomings, the game is still fun to play, even if it's trounced by its sequel entirely 4 years later. It's up to you whether or not you want to spend the money, but for me, there was so much good that it was worth it for me to give Portal an 8 out of 10 with a green for age and sadly a red for sensory. That red might be a deal breaker for some of you out there, but I have to be honest. And if you're interested, give the demo on Steam, PlayStation 3, or Xbox 360 a shot. Portal in full could either be bought on the Orange Bundle across all platforms, or buy a bundle of both this game and its sequel on Steam for a few bucks cheaper than you would get them separately. I would recommend the latter option a little bit more if you want to play along with me, because next time I'm going to take a look at Portal 2. See you soon, and have fun until then.